Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lora Rolling and this is part 1 of the Christmas tree ornament tutorial. This is the Christmas tree ornament that we are making. It is so cute with all its little candy canes in the snow, Christmas trees all around. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. And today we're going to do the triangle called candy canes. We just have a few materials to get ready, so let's get them listed and then we can get started. Let's go. So the beads that we're going to use in today's project are all Miyuki Delicas. I have white pearl, dyed silver lined red, and opaque carnation. I'm just going to call this white, red, and pink. We're also going to need some beading thread and a beading needle. I like to use the Eslon Fire in the color Crystal, and I use the 4-pound thread. You can also use 6-pound beading thread if that's what you like. And then I also like to use a size 10 beading needle. You could use a size 12 if that's what you have. For implements, I like to use my long nose pliers to hold on to my thread, and then I cut my thread with scissors. And then I'm going to show you in today's video how to end your tail with the fire method. We also are going to need a 2.36-inch plastic crafting ornament. I buy these in the 12-pack at my local hobby store. You can also find them individually in my Etsy shop though, if you don't want to buy a whole bunch all at once. Alrighty, so let's thread our needle with 2 feet of thread and then we can get started. So I have threaded my needle and now I'm going to pick up my first 3 beads, 3 white beads. Then I'm going to take those beads and I'm going to pull them all the way down to the bottom of my thread until I have about a 6-inch tail. Then I'm going to make a square knot, which means I'm going to cross over on top and pull my tail through. Then I'm going to cross over on top again and pull my tail through. So you have what looks like a little snowman. Now I'm going to put my 2 fingers in the loop that has the beads, and then I'm going to tighten the loop on top until it is a little knot. Now we have our thread tail. I'm going to heat it up, but I'm not going to touch it to the flame. I'm just going to get it super close, and it's going to turn the end into a little knot. Just like that. Now I'm going to keep my 2 fingers in the circle while I pull on the long thread, twisting the circle and pulling the thread at the same time until that knot reaches the thread. Now I'm going to take my thumbnail and I'm going to pull that knot down to the beads until the beads are a little triangle. Now I'm going to pull or tug until the tail is closer to one of the beads. You don't want it right in the center. You want it to be close to one of the beads. Now that finishes row number 1. How easy was that? And now we get to start row number 2 by picking up 2 more white beads. And it looks like we're coming out of this bead, so we're going to sew through the next bead. We're going to try to get our new beads to sit right on top of their buddies. Now let's pick up 2 more white beads, and we're coming out of this bead. We're going to sew through the next bead. Once again, making sure that our new beads are sitting next to their buddies or right on top of them. Now let's pick up 2 more white beads. We're coming out of this bead. Let's sew through the next bead and also sew through the bead right next to that one. So we're sewing through 2 beads, which means that we've completed row number 2, and we're stepping up to start row number 3. So starting row number 3, let's start with 1 pink bead and 1 white bead. We're coming out of this bead. Let's sew through the next bead. Now let's pick up 1 white bead. We're going to skip the down bead, the one that's kind of set down, and we're going to sew through the one that's sticking up. That's our up bead. Now let's pick up 2 white beads and sew through the next. Let's pick up 1 white bead. Skipping the down bead, we're going to sew through the up bead. Let's pick up 1 white and 1 red. Sew through the next. And our last bead in this row is 1 white bead. We're going to skip the down bead and we're going to sew through the up bead and the one right below that one, because this completes row number 3, and now we have stepped up and we're ready to start row number 4. Let's start row number 4 with 2 white beads. Let's pick up 1 white bead, sewing through the up bead, always sewing through the up beads, right? Pick up 1 white bead and sew through the up. I turn my work as I go. It just makes it easier for me to sew. So you might want to do that too if it makes it easier for you. Let's pick up 2 white beads and sew through the next. Let's pick up 1 white bead and sew through the next. Let's pick up 1 white bead and sew through the next. Two white beads and sew through the next. One pink bead and sew through the next. And our last bead in this row is 1 white bead. We're skipping the down. We're going to sew through the up bead and the bead below that. Completing this row, and now we're ready to start row number 5. Let's start with 2 white. One white. One pink. One white. Two white beads. One white. 1 red, 1 white, 2 white, 1 white, 1 red, and 1 red. This is the last bead in this row, so we're sewing through 2 beads. And now we are ready to start row number 6. Let's start with 1 red and 1 white. One white, 1 white, 1 red, 1 white, 1 pink, and 1 white. One white, 1 pink, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 pink, and 1 white. Sewing through 2 beads, stepping up and starting row 7 with 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 red, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 red, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, and the last bead in this row is 1 white. sewing through 2 beads and starting row number 8. Let's start with 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 pink, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 pink, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, and 1 pink. Let's sew through 2 beads and starting row number 9. Let's start with 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 red, 1 white, 1 pink, 1 white. Oh, that's not white, that's yellow. All my beads are mixed in together. We're going to set that one aside and pick up the right color. There we go. It's like bead soup over here. Okay, let's do 2 white beads, 1 white, 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 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, and 1 white. Sewing through 2 beads, and now we get to start row number 10 with 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 pink, 1 white, 1 white, 1 red, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 red, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 red, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 red, and 1 white. Sewing through 2 beads, finishing that row, and now we are ready to start row 11. Let's start with 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 red, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 pink, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 pink, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 pink, 1 pink, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, and 1 white. Sewing through 2 beads, and now we get to start row number 12. Let's start with 2 white beads, 1 white, 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 1 red, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 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 2 white beads, 1 white, 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 1 pink, 1 pink, and 1 white. Sewing through 2 beads, and that completes our 12th row. If you have only done this very first triangle with me, you'll know that we have to now cap off the corners and add our connection rows. Now with our triangles, we sometimes add them on one side but not the other. Some sides don't have them, some sides do. So in this particular case, this triangle called candy canes, we're going to have 1 white cap right here. So let's put 1 bead right there, and it turns it into like a little point. We're going to have no beads on this side. We're going to have a white cap right here. We're going to have beads up this side. We're going to white cap this one, and then we're going to have no beads on the top. So now that we've already capped our first corner, what I like to do is, you'll notice there's a little dent in our triangle. I like to flip the triangle over so that the dome is on top. It makes it easier to sew. Without picking up any beads, let's sew through all of the beads along this border line right here. It's the border of this little quadrant right here. So we're going to sew hiding our thread. We don't want to miss any beads so we can't see our thread at all. But we want to sew up all of those beads until we get to this point right here. So while we're doing that, you can take it 1 or 2 beads at a time, whatever works best for you. And while we do that, I'm going to request the emoji of the day. So if you are coming back for a time or 2 or 10 or 20, you'll know that I love to see your comments down below. So if you don't really have anything to say, you're just enjoying working these triangles, that's great. Just put an emoji. It can be any emoji that you want, but I would love to see if you have a candy cane emoji. If you don't, you can always just type in candy cane. And if you don't have the emoji, then at least you're just writing candy cane, right, in those comments. So it helps my algorithm to do that too. But I just love to see who has watched all the way to this point, and yeah, celebrate you by giving you a little recognition by being seen in the comments, right? Alrighty, so now we are up at this point. Let's cap it off with 1 white bead. And now we're going to add beads, all white, 1 at a time. So 1 white, 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 and 1 white. Now we are at the 3rd corner. Let's cap it with 1 white bead. And now let's secure our white bead. You might notice that your triangle is now just a little looser. That's totally okay. It happens to me constantly at this point. So no need to worry about that, whether it's doming or not. As long as there's no spaces in between, you're good, as long as you can't see your thread. So we're coming out of this bead. Let's sew through, hiding our thread. we're going to sew through 6 beads. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, I caught 2 that time. So 5 and 6. Now we're coming out of this bead. It's the first row of 4 beads. Now we're going to change directions. We're coming out of the top of this bead. We're going to sew down the bead right next to it. And then we're going to sew up that red bead. Zigzagging like this really makes this last bead that we added super secure. We're going to do it one more time. Let's sew up 2 beads. We'll sew up the pink bead and the white bead above that one. And now let's zigzag. We're coming out of the top of this bead. Let's sew down the bead right next to it and up the bead right next to that. Now this bead is extra secure. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to loosen up on us. It's very important. Now sew through 2 or 3 more beads, and now we are ready to cut our thread. Let's pick up our thread with long nose pliers. Get our scissors as close to the bead as possible without cutting the bead, and cut our thread. Now we have completed our first candy cane triangle. Isn't it so cute? And it's so fun to watch those candy canes form while we're beading, isn't it? I just had so much fun with you. We only need 5 of these triangles to complete the project, so go ahead and rewind this video and watch it 4 more times, and I will see you in a second. That was so much fun. Thank you so much for being here with me today and beading along with me. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell button so you're notified when the next video comes out. I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for watching.